Chapter 1927 We're clearly related to Azura by marriage. Yi Wanwan originally planned to start digging from elder genes so that she didn't need to gather honor points so strenuously, but unfortunately, she gained nothing from this excursion. Moreover, the reason behind the abduction of Big Dipper's mother for no reason was also hazy. She didn't feel like it was a coincidence. Oh well, it appeared she could only go and gnaw on the hardest bone now. Yi Wanwan called Big Dipper and 7 Star to her office. Big Dipper, have you delivered the message I asked you to deliver? What did they say? Yi Wanwan asked. Sis Feng, is that even a question? Of course they won't, they sell it. Big Dipper grumbled. What was their response? I want the original words. How could they respond? I didn't see the person at all. Yi Wanwan propped her chin on her hand, her head aching. It appeared that the guy was still heated with rage. However, was he the only angry one? She was angry still too. She had forced him to this degree already, but he still stubbornly kept his alias and refused to shed it. So what if he shed it? There's only one method left then. As Yi Wanwan said that, she took a black lockbox from her pocket and threw it at Big Dipper. Take a few people and help me escort this lockbox to the 14th district. What? Escort it to the 14th district? Doesn't that mean I have to pass through the 13th district? When Big Dipper heard this, he knelt down with a plop at once. I was wrong, Sis Feng. I'll definitely be good from now on and won't ever do it again. If I die, who else can be your considerate apple of the eye? What nonsense are you saying? Who wants you to die? You want me to travel through the 13th district. What's the difference between that and asking for my life? Is the 13th district that scary? Yi Wanwan raised her brows. Big Dipper tightly hugged Yi Wanwan's leg and hobbled his head frantically. It's more than that. Azura has controlled the 13th district for more than a century, and no one has ever managed to trespass without permission. As Azura's enemy faction, how could it be possible for us to pass through Azura's core stronghold so openly? Yi Wanwan pursed her lips, dissatisfied with Big Dipper's wording. Who are you calling enemy faction? We're clearly related to Azura by marriage. Pondering over his president's suicidal move, Big Dipper shakily wiped his sweat. You don't think we're enemies enough? Yi Wanwan supported her chin, her finger lightly tapping on her cheek as she gently comforted him. Don't worry. I guarantee you'll safely pass through the 13th district, finish your escort mission, and return Comp W. Big Dipper looked like he was facing a giant liar. Sis Feng, I'm not a child anymore. Big Dipper recalled his young and clueless days when he believed everything Sis Feng said and ended up being tricked until he cried for his parents. He still had lingering fears. Sis Feng, this is too risky. 7 Star chipped in with his opinion too. When have I ever done anything irresponsible? 7 Star, isn't that all the time? 7 Star resisted the urge to expose her. It was a test of sorts to send Big Dipper to escort the token. She wanted to probe a certain person's attitude. She didn't have to wait long. The next afternoon, 7 Star pushed open her office's door in a rush and dashed inside. Sis Feng, something happened. 7 Star yelled. What is it? This was Yi Wanwan's first time seeing such a serious expression on 7 Star's face. Did something happen to Big Dipper? He's fine, that's good. Yi Wanwan relaxed. However, the token, what about the token? The token got stolen by Azura's members. Chapter 1928. Personally go there to strip him, what did you say? Yi Wanwan jumped up from her seat at once. No wonder that punk, Big Dipper, didn't dare to come here to report to her himself. Their fearless alliance's belongings actually got stolen by someone. The head of bandits got robbed. If news of this got out, they'd become the laughingstock of the entire independent state. She was almost 100% certain Lord Azura was Si Yihan, so she was confident in the mission this time. The worst outcome she imagined would be Big Dipper being unable to pass and send home. Never would she have expected Lord Azura to confiscate her item. Damn it! This item escorting mission had been issued for a long time, but no one dared to accept it this whole time because it was too difficult. Additionally, the rules stated that the person who lost the token would get 15,000 honor points deducted. Didn't that mean she would return to the dark times? Yi Wanwan clutched her chest, which was aching from her fury. So infuriating. Where did that bastard get the nerve to deceive her, saying they were married already? Was this something a real husband would do? Even if she lied to him first and didn't remain in China, there was no need for him to abuse her like this, right? I'll go there personally. Yi Wanwan shot up again. No. You absolutely can't. It's too dangerous. 7-Star hastily blocked Yi Wanwan's path. Move over. Yi Wanwan originally planned to continue playing with a certain someone, but he kept hindering her again and messing up her plans in his ignorance. She had lost every strand of her patience. She had to personally go there and strip a certain person. Sis Feng. Sis Feng. It wasn't until Yi Wanwan left that Big Dipper cautiously peeked his head out. It's over, it's over. Old Seven, what should we do? Didn't I tell you to protect the token well no matter what? 7-Star admonished him unhappily. Of course I know that. I absolutely wouldn't allow someone to steal something belonging to the Fearless Alliance from my hands even if I lost my life. So what happened then? 7-Star asked. To 7-Star, Big Dipper was perfectly intact but lost the token, so clearly it was because he didn't safeguard the token with everything he had. I don't know either. They only stole the item then released us. They didn't even touch a hair on us. Do you think Azura is a charity organization? 7-Star obviously didn't believe a single word. But that's the truth. Enough nonsense. Call all the elders here and summon all the hall masters. This time, a war between the Fearless Alliance and Azura would really start. At Azura's headquarters, Lin Kei fretted with worry as he stared at the black velvet ring box and black lockbox on Lord Azura's desk. Those two really got into a pickle this time. However, it really wasn't Ninth Brother's fault. He managed to restrain himself already, but then the Fearless Alliance just had to send someone here to ask for Emperor Ji's ring and said they could ask for any terms they wanted. And so, this person was completely pissed off. Behind the expansive desk, the man silently sat there, resembling the devil, Rakshasa, who climbed out from the deepest part of hell. One of his hands was pressing his temples hard, and his face was frighteningly pale. Lin Kei was exasperated. Your head's hurting again? His ninth brother's body had recovered not too long ago, and he started working himself to death as soon as he came to the independent state. Moreover, his emotions these past few days were extremely unstable, so of course he was suffering again. Do I need to call a doctor here to take a look? However, Lin Kei himself knew that this was a psychological illness that needed to be cured by a psychological medicine, so calling a doctor was useless. Leave. The man waved his hand. Chapter 1929. Are you trying to murder your wife? Lin Kei wanted to offer a few words of advice but unfortunately couldn't withstand a certain person's low-pressure aura, so he quickly fled outside to hide. As soon as Lin Kei left, a black shadow quietly approached the building. Currently, Yi Wanwan's face was covered in dirt, and dust and leaves were all over her. She cut a rather sorry figure. Blah, blah, damn it. Yi Wanwan spat out the grass and leaves from her mouth. Azura's security was truly too strict. Even if she navigated the route clearly last time she was there, it was still very difficult for her to sneak inside single-handedly. Hence, she had no choice but to employ some special methods. Since when did she fall into such a degenerate state? In order to see her man, she couldn't enter through the main entrance and had to crawl through a dog hole. Yi Wanwan's flame blazed inside of her furiously as she used a pocket knife to crack open the window. Sweet. Behind the desk, the man's eyes sharpened upon hearing the noise, and a gold fountain pen flew out from his hand, shooting toward the person at the window. Since his emotions were too chaotic, he actually didn't detect anyone sneaking inside. Shit! Are you trying to murder your wife? Yi Wanwan quickly dodged while reaching out to catch the fountain pen. HM? This fountain pen is flashily gold. It must be worth a lot. Yi Wanwan wiped the pen before stuffing it into her pocket. When the man saw the newcomer clearly, apparent shock popped up on his face. But his expression instantly darkened again when he realized her objective for coming. What kind of place do you think Azura is? President Bai. My home, of course. Yi Wanwan blurted out. Lord Azura. Yi Wanwan had zero patience by this point, so she slapped the dust off herself and directly asked, I'll be frank and won't waste my words. Tell me, just what will make you willing to give the ring to me? As he expected, the last trace of hope in his eyes dissipated into boundless chilliness. Beg me. His gaze was so frosty that it froze all of the blood inside her. I'm begging you. Lord Azura. Yi Wanwan didn't care about something like begging him at all. If he was willing to give the ring to her if she said a few words, she'd be the one winning in the end, all right? Moreover, begging her man a little was no biggie. Please, I'm begging you. It's not like you have any use holding on to it anyway, right? Yi Wanwan added. The man clearly didn't expect this outcome, and his face darkened completely. At the end of his patience, he rubbed his forehead. Get out. I won't. Unless you give it to me, I won't leave. What? I make you trade the Fearless Alliance for it? Yi Wanwan. Ha. A mere ring and he wanted her to use the entire Fearless Alliance to trade for it? Alright. Sure. Again. Not a problem. Yi Wanwan nodded briskly. Yi Wanwan thought, everything that's yours is mine and everything that's mine is also yours anyway. Lord Azura. The man in front of Yi Wanwan was akin to the eye of a tornado, causing her to involuntarily shiver. After taking a deep breath, he used his last strand of self-control to utter, Get out, now. Before I change my mind. Damn. He's kicking me out again. She intentionally didn't explain why she wanted that ring because she wanted to force him to admit his identity. Who knew he would still conceal himself so solidly at this point? Is there a point in performing the Emperor's new clothes? It's the same as being completely naked in my eyes, alright? Chapter 1930. Want to fight over a man with me? Then excuse me for this offense. A swish pierced the air and Yi Wanwan leaped toward the ring on the desk as fast as lightning. The second before she touched the ring, the man swung his arm and blocked her attack, keeping her from the ring. Yi Wanwan furiously glared at him and attacked immediately. Within moments, the duo had exchanged dozens of blows. The man's attacks weren't ferocious at all. They could even be considered nonchalant, but they securely blocked her attacks so much so that she couldn't even touch the ring for a millisecond. My esteemed Lord Azura, if I may ask, why the hell are you forcefully withholding another man's closely worn ring and unwilling to give it up? Yi Wanwan shouted, affronted. Was it that difficult for him to admit he was Siyihan and he was jealous? And why are you doing this? The man retorted instead, staring at her. Yi Wanwan laughed, inflamed. What do you think? My esteemed Lord Azura is so smart, so you should know my intentions. When a woman wants to obtain a man's personal item using all the methods she can, something like a ring even, the man didn't seem to want to continue listening and directly interrupted her. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you, President Bai. Yi Wanwan languidly smiled. It appears your esteemed self is hellbent on fighting over a man with me, Lord Azura? Fighting over a man with her. Across from her, Lord Azura's breathing evidently halted. Anyone less sturdy and they would have probably passed out from rage because of Yi Wanwan by now. Yi Wanwan continued, apologies, but I said this ring is mine, so it'll definitely be mine. Something fiercely sank in the man's eyes, falling until it was sucked into a bottomless abyss without a ray of light. Yi Wanwan took advantage of the man's inattention and struck. A second later, the man seemed to have lost his hold on the box, and it slid down from his palm. Yi Wanwan naturally wouldn't bypass this opportunity and caught the ring box. However, before happiness could fill her body, she saw the man's face losing all traces of color. His slender fingers hardly pressed against his forehead, as though he was enduring some immense agony. Yi Wanwan immediately forgot about the ring and hastily shot forward to catch the shakily standing man. Hey! Lord Azura's back stiffened, and he shoved her away before staggeringly falling back on the chair behind him. His entire body emanated iciness as he uttered, Get up, damn! He's kicking me out again. Yi Wanwan suppressed her rage and anxiously pressed, Where do you feel ill? None of your business. The man's voice didn't bear a sliver of warmth. I'll leave. Yi Wanwan was beside herself in rage and promptly turned around to leave. As Lord Azura watched the girl's furious silhouette, he defeatedly sat on the sofa without a trace of life around him, as though he was an island abandoned by the entire world. Yi Wanwan shoved open the door with a loud bang and marched outside. Fine, I'll leave. Fine. What's the big deal with you? I've freaking had enough of that damn prideful personality. I've had enough. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. She couldn't even make it to the 5th step. When she took her 5th step, her legs had a mind of their own and suddenly turned around to walk back to his room. Chapter 1931. Ding. Pacifying One is online. By the time Yi Wanwan regained her wits, she was back at the door again. She dumbfoundedly stared at the door in front of her and her legs. Damn. Legs, what are you doing? Why did you come back here yourself? Can't you have a little more pride? Seriously. You're killing me. Slash bang. Slash the door was slammed open, and the man's eyes shot up, stunned. Yi Wanwan angrily and murderously stomped back inside. Damn it, what kind of spell did you cast on me? Then she aggressively reached out and placed her hands on the man's temples and started massaging them. The girl wore a fiendish expression on her face and her voice had an extremely brutish tone, but her hands massaging him were peculiarly gentle. Desolation and defeat still lingered on the man's face as he dazedly stared at the girl who left and came back. The warmth and gentleness on his forehead slowly absorbed the pain and chill drowning him. Do you feel better? Yi Wanwan hostilely asked with a mean expression on her face as she kept rubbing his temples. Does it still hurt? The man lightly panted and didn't say anything, but he also didn't push the girl away at all, allowing her to touch him however she wanted. Yi Wanwan peered down at him and saw that his shirt was buttoned to his collar, the first button tightly fastened and a tie knotted around his neck. Her brows furrowed deeply. Just looking at this made her unable to breathe. Yi Wanwan directly reached out and pulled off his tie before loosening the button on his collar. The man's gaze drifted down to her hand, but he allowed her actions without any movements to stop her. Yi Wanwan unbuttoned all the buttons of his white dress shirt and asked, "Does this feel better?" When Yi Wanwan met the man's gaze, she hastily explained, "Let me clarify, okay? I'm just performing first aid to help you breathe more easily. I'm not trying to do anything else. I wouldn't take advantage of someone in their weakened state like this." As Yi Wanwan said that, her gaze landed on the man's half-exposed chest. She originally really didn't plan to take advantage of his vulnerable state, but now, well, her thoughts were turning a bit dangerous. Calm down, calm down. She intended to force him to admit it himself initially, but it turned out to be her who relented first in the end. Yi Wanwan was forced to compromise and said, "I don't believe you have no clue I have a special use for that ring with your intelligence. Even if your brain went offline, then use your face and your beauty to think about it." Lord Azura. Looking at the man's face, Yi Wanwan's tone softened some. "Also, why did I beg you so easily when you asked? It's because you're my man, so what if I beg you a little? I wouldn't lose anything by begging you." "You're my man." When the girl said that, the man's eyes abruptly contracted a few degrees. Yi Wanwan saw his face improving, so she continued to put in more effort. "As for you making me trade the fearless alliance for the ring, please, don't you have any idea why I agreed to it? With our relationship, isn't what's mine yours? The fearless alliance was yours to begin with, so what's there to trade? Am I right?" She still found out. Immense helplessness rushed up from the bottom of Siyihan's eyes. He should be anxious and unsettled, but a shameful gladness flooded into his heart as he listened to her soft voice by his ears and watched the worry and concern on her face. It was like a hand dragged him from the boundless and forsaken darkness back into the vivacious world. Yi Wanwan kept massaging his forehead. "Hee, have you finally stopped being angry? Seriously, it's too much. How are you so good-looking even when you're angry?" Chapter 1932. How could I not recognize my own man? Siyihan was unable to describe his current emotions. He felt like he was reborn after a great catastrophe. An unknown amount of time passed before he finally recovered his ability to produce speech. He pressed down on the hands that kept massaging him as he hoarsely asked, "How did you find out?" Yi Wanwan glanced at his hands over the back of her hands and raised her eyebrows. "You wouldn't even let me touch you earlier, but now, you're touching my hand of your own volition?" Si Yihan's fingers paused but didn't move away. His hand slowly curled around her fingers, grasping her hand. "Don't change the topic." Ahem, fine. To no one's surprise, a certain someone's intelligence only goes offline temporarily. How should she tell him how she discovered it? She was certain he was lying because she learned that she had a second identity as Worryless Nye, and Si Yihan's story obviously didn't match up with that fact. That nonsense about how they couldn't be together because she wasn't a citizen of the independent state or else they would be hunted down by the ancient Si clan, that was utterly impossible. Regardless of which identity she was using, it didn't change the fact that she was a resident of the independent state. There could only be one reason Si Yihan said that, to make her leave the independent state. That was why he was so furious when he learned she returned to the independent state. Si Yihan watched her bite her lips and struggle for something to say for half a day, and he gently kneaded her fingers. "Have you thought of an excuse yet?" "I haven't, blah. What I mean is I haven't figured out how to tell you yet." No matter what, she absolutely couldn't tell Sian she was Worryless Nye or else she would be screwed. Who in the independent state didn't know Worryless Nye had an engagement with Ji Shiran? Who didn't know Worryless Nye had an illegitimate son? She merely bid for a ring belonging to Ji Shiran, and Si Yihan nearly drowned her with a sea of vinegar. If he learned she had a son. However, speaking of her precious son, she was growing more certain about the identity of Tong Tong's biological father. She just needed some final proof. Yi Wanwan pursed her lips and said, "Where did you get the nerve to ask? Do you think your acting skills are flawless? Have you forgotten about my job in China? Showing off your acting skills in front of me is like teaching your grandmother how to suck eggs. Since the first time you appeared in front of me as Lord Azura, I saw through your identity with a single look. I merely wanted to force you to admit it yourself." There was nothing wrong with Yi Wanwan's explanation, but Si Yihan knew that she was hiding something from him still. Enough about that. This actually feels pretty nice. It's like I have two boyfriends." Si Yihan didn't continue pursuing the matter, sensing that Yi Wanwan didn't want to tell him. He silently glanced at her and asked, "You want to have two boyfriends a lot?" Yi Wanwan sharply detected danger and her survival instincts went online in a flash. "No way. Don't sneakily change my meaning, alright? What I'm saying is how could I not recognize my own man? I'd recognize you no matter what appearance you took on." Two of him? Pacifying one of him requires me to use every trick and skill I have in my hat already. As Yi Wanwan continued with her placating, she covertly glanced at him. His expression finally stopped looking so frightening. She finally managed to nurture him back to good health with Herculean efforts, so how did he turn around and get himself into this state again? Yi Wanwan was furious but thinking more on it. I'm the one who angered him to this extent? It isn't my fault though. It was clearly nothing, but he just had to have the capability of producing vinegar on his own and in such terrifying quantities. Chapter 1933 What's your relationship with Ji Shiran? Yi Wanwan figured that she probably successfully got away with it since Si Yihan didn't keep pressing. However, as soon as she relaxed, she heard Si Yihan ask, "What's your relationship with Ji Shiran?" Yi Wanwan stiffened instantly and entered first-class defense mode. Did he discover something? Wait, shit. Are you for real? It's clearly me who should be the one launching accusations, right? So why did the situation turn 180 degrees and turn into me becoming the one being grilled? What was more sinful was that this question truly stirred some guilt in her. The abnormality that flickered through Yi Wanwan's eyes naturally didn't escape Si Yihan's attention. His hands around her fingers subconsciously clenched. In reality, he knew all along that she had someone she liked. That person held an irreplaceable position in her heart. And he was merely a fling that she had in her boredom to pass the time. He knew all of this clearly. But when someone finally saw the light after dwelling in the dark his whole life, he would be unwilling to release it. He always knew she had a person like that in her heart. He just didn't know who it was, nor did he want to find out. Until Ji Xiran suddenly appeared by her side, and an unease that Si Yihan had never felt before subconsciously grabbed him and caused him to lose control of his emotions again and again. Yi Wanwan's hand started hurting from his grasp. Detecting Si Yihan's rippling emotions, Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows and wanted to say something, but ear-shattering sirens started piercing the air outside the window. This type of alarm only rang when Azura was suffering an extremely serious attack. What sound is that? Yi Wanwan jolted in fright by this noise. The darkness on Si Yihan's face only appeared for a flash, and his expression returned to normal like it never changed. He responded, "Azura is under attack." Yi Wanwan was astonished. Who's gutsy enough to dare to invade Azura's headquarters? The man glanced at her. Who do you think? Yi Wanwan blinked, and blinked again. Can't be my fearless alliance, right? As soon as Yi Wanwan said that, a familiar voice shouted outside arrogantly. Every person inside fucking listen. You've been surrounded. Nicely hand over our boss, or don't blame the fearless alliance for bulldozing your Azura. Yi Wanwan, what's going on? Yi Wanwan sprinted to the window to examine the situation outside. A look revealed the matter to be more serious than she expected. The Fearless Alliance came out in nearly full force, and all the experts were present, painting a sea of black in the night. Azura's side was also fully armed. The two sides stood facing each other in a standoff, and the atmosphere could be ignited with a touch. Yi Wanwan felt her head pounding when she saw this. Shit! Since Azura's defense was stricter than last time, she wasted too much time breaking in, so the sky had turned dark already. Big Dipper and Seven Star probably thought she fell into Azura's hands after seeing her gone for so long, so they declared war on Azura in their urgency. What Yi Wanwan didn't know was that the commotion was worse than she thought. Azura's siren had alarmed the entire independent state already, and many factions and powerful figures had sent their informants to scout for information. The end result frightened them. The Fearless Alliance had started a war with Azura. The leaders of several factions gathered together to discuss this, quaking with fear. Really? The Fearless Alliance and Azura started fighting? It's absolutely true. The Fearless Alliance's whole nest came out and launched an attack on Azura's headquarters. They'll probably rip each other's heads off this time. Tiki, the Fearless Alliance, they are rather ballsy, right? When Azura was attacked back then, the Fearless Alliance charged at the forefront, so the feud between the two factions was established long ago. Chapter 1934. We're villains colluding together. When Yi Wanwan saw Si Yihan standing up as though he wanted to go out, she quickly drew the curtains and dashed over. Sit down. Sit back and rest. It's fine outside. They won't start fighting this fast, so don't worry. The flames of war raged and gunpowder pervaded the air outside, but inside the house, a certain president was eagerly helping someone back to the sofa and attentively worrying about his health. There's probably someone stirring the pot, Si Yihan said. You mean? Yi Wanwan pondered it and realized the merit in his words. The Fearless Alliance probably got some erroneous information this time and thought something happened to her. Otherwise, they wouldn't rashly turn out in full force like this. It appears someone wants to drive a wedge between us and reap the spoils. Yi Wanwan rubbed her chin and revealed a gloating expression as she grinned and said, Unfortunately, they don't know we're actually villains colluding together. Si Yihan, villains colluding together? He didn't want to comment on his wife's usage of idioms. Yi Wanwan's eyes shifted as she rushed to talk business. Oh right, there's one more really important matter. I already explained to you just now that I have a special use for that ring and absolutely don't intend to do anything else with it. You know how I'm going to school at Scarlet Flames Academy right now, right? There's an S-rank mission on the mission board that is asking for Emperor Ji's personal ring, and it's super valuable. It's worth 15,000 honor points. As Yi Wanwan said that, her eyes sparkled and she revealed a money-grubber look. Upon seeing her excited and sparkling gaze when she talked about that ring, Si Yihan's gaze sank. He recalled the cufflinks that Yi Wanwan bid on for $1. Is that so? That ring is worth a lot? Yi Wanwan didn't dare to provoke him with the mention of Emperor Ji's ring anymore and hastily added, "You're worth a lot too. You're really worth a lot. A single strand of hair from you is worth 15,000 honor points. To tell you the truth, your hair is also part of an S-rank mission, which I accepted as well, so, say." Yi Wanwan leaned close and looked at him expectantly. The man glanced at her. He was silent for a moment before exasperation flitted through his eyes. "Pluck it yourself." Yi Wanwan nearly jumped up in her excitement. Really? Really? You'll let me pluck it? However I want." Happiness came too suddenly. Yi Wanwan stared at his head of silver hair like an evil dragon who saw a cave of treasures. Honor points. They were all honor points. It would be great if this mission could be accepted limitlessly, Yi Wanwan regrettably murmured. Si Yihan, accepted limitlessly? Does she want to make me bald? As Yi Wanwan said that, she ardently pounced onto the man and happily started picking through his hair. Which strand should I take? The strand? The strand? Or that strand? Si Yihan's spine stiffened as he felt her seemingly boneless hand rifling through his hair and lightly touching his scalp and his neck. When the girl didn't pick one after searching for half a day, he had no choice but to pluck one himself and helped her sit up before handing the plucked strand of hair to her. "All right. Why did you do it yourself? Anyway, this strand is a bit short and too fine. I want a longer, better-looking strand. The kind that's neither thick or fine. I'll throw it away if you don't want it." Si Yihan gestured like he would drop it. I want it. Don't drop it." Yi Wanwan quickly snatched the strand of hair like it was a piece of precious treasure. Then she thought of something and her eyes shifted before she fawningly asked, "Can I have one more strand?" Chapter 1935. But the bosses are head-deep in their romance. When Yi Wanwan caught Si Yihan's questioning gaze, she quickly explained, "What if another mission is issued? I'm just preparing ahead of time. If there isn't, I can keep it as a memento so that I can look at it when I miss you." In the end, Yi Wanwan successfully got her hands on 2 strands of hair. Si Yihan's unfathomable eyes carried a hint of coolness as he asked, "Why do you want so many honor points?" Yi Wanwan subconsciously tightened her hold on the hair that she finally obtained. She absolutely couldn't allow Si Yihan to find out she was earning honor points so that the headmaster could help her recover her memory. There's no royal road to learning. Since I'm a student, I should study hard and aspire to improve every day. I'm just the lowest-ranked mercenary right now. How much shame would I bring to you if we told other people in the future? Yi Wanwan bootlicked him without any spared efforts. Si Yihan's eyes turned grim. Although he knew she was intentionally hiding something from him, boundless satisfaction still rushed into his heart as he watched the girl carefully wrap a handkerchief around his strands of hair and store them safely in her inner pocket like a treasure. He felt like the enormous hole in his chest was being slowly filled up. He could give her anything she wanted. Si Yihan closed his eyes and temporarily suppressed every tinge of unease before extending his arms and tightly embracing the girl. Yi Wanwan blinked. What is it? Why are you so passionate all of a sudden?" An enormous noise was suddenly heard outside the window, as though something heavy had toppled. Yi Wanwan peeked through the opening between the curtains. 7-Star and Jiang Yen had started sighting and one of the Roman columns in Azura's garden had collapsed. At the same time, a loud bang resounded as the study door was slammed open. Ninth brother. Not good. They're fighting outside and those lunatics from the Fearless Alliance are simply... Lin K broke off when he saw his 9th brother leaning back on the sofa with a woman in his arms. Yi Wanwan burrowed out from Si Yihan's embrace and peeked out behind Si Yihan's shoulder. She waved her little hand and greeted the person standing at the door. "Hey, shit!" Lin K exclaimed. "What the heck am I seeing?" Lin K nearly fell on his ass from fright and stared at Yi Wanwan like she was a ghost. "WB, why are you here? Why can't I be here?" Yi Wanwan grunted and probingly inspected the man in front of her. She heard this person call Si Yihan ninth brother just now. Not many people address Si Yihan like that. Was this person under disguise? Yi Wanwan bored into that ordinary and common face and guessed, "You're Lin K? Damn, I got recognized." Lin K nearly peed in his pants and turned to Si Yihan, badly shaken. Si Yihan didn't look too happy from being disturbed. He gently caressed Yi Wanwan's hair as he answered her, "Yes, it's him." Lin K was even more horrified when he heard ninth brother frankly admit it. "Ninth brother, you've dropped your alias?" Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes at him. "I stripped it. Do you have something to say?" "No. I absolutely don't." Lin K frantically shook his head. He felt like he was a gigantic third wheel as he watched these two sickeningly lovey-dovey people in front of him. Tears streamed down his face inwardly. Damn, I never would have expected it. They had turned the world upside down fighting outside, and the entire independent state was disturbed. But what was happening? The bosses of the two fighting sides were head deep in their romance and acting all mushy inside the study. Was there still justice in the world? Chapter 1936. The owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory. Currently, the buttons of his ninth brother's dress shirt were all loosened, his hair was tousled, and he was hugging Yi Wanwan just a second ago. When Lin K realized what he had interrupted, he felt like his death was hanging over him. "Ahem, ninth brother, I originally didn't want to disturb you, but the commotion outside is somewhat big," Lin K explained while shuddering. No wonder ninth brother was so silent despite the giant disturbance outside. It turned out this girl was here. Ninth brother probably wouldn't care even if the sky fell outside. "I wanted to stay with you longer." Yi Wanwan lamented with a pout before accepting her fate and reluctantly standing up. "I'll leave now." Si Yihan's gaze darkened slightly. "Be careful." He couldn't keep her away from the independent state at this point, so he would just have to take it one step at a time now. Yes, I know." Si Yihan was probably worried someone would harm her, so he wanted her to leave the independent state and remain in China, but if someone really wanted to do anything to her, it didn't matter where she was. The several attempted assassinations in China proved that. In the independent state, at least she was the president of the Fearless Alliance, so her assassinators had to be more cautious. In the independent state, she still had many things to do and there were people she had to protect. Regardless of the reason she begged to forget those memories initially, it was time to face them after evading them for so long. She couldn't allow Si Yihan to endure everything on his own. "That's right, baby, give me your phone number in the independent state." "TSK, I gave you my number last time, but you didn't even call me once." Yi Wanwan complained. Si Yihan looked at her calmly. "Did you know who I was at that time?" Alarms instantly blared in Yi Wanwan's mind. This was a fatal question. If she said she wasn't certain he was Si Yihan back then, wasn't that the same as hitting on another man? Yi Wanwan had no doubt this man would get jealous of his own self. She decisively answered, "Of course I knew. I told you I was instantly certain it was you, all right?" Si Yihan's gaze turned gentle, and he didn't expose her. He listed off a string of numbers before saying, "This is my private number." Yi Wanwan didn't bring her phone in her haste, so she memorized it. "Okay. Be careful about how you enter in my name. We can't allow anyone to discover our relationship," Si Yihan instructed her worriedly. "I understand. Don't worry. I'll give you a nickname that absolutely no one can guess." Yi Wanwan guaranteed. She already thought of a nickname already. She was going to set his number as the owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory. It was perfect. "Excuse me, have you two finished chatting?" Lin K urged miserably. All right. What's the hurry?" Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes grumpily before walking out. Swish, swish, swish. By Azura's main entrance, 7-Star and Jiang Yen were currently locked in battle with no clear winner, and the fight was turning more and more heated. "Damn, old 7. Stop fighting. How much longer will you fight? Everyone, charge inside." 7-Star's expression couldn't be any darker. The impact of Azura officially entering a war with the Fearless Alliance was too immense. How many people outside were waiting for them to start fighting? The best option would be to resolve this peacefully, but the longer they delayed it, the more danger Sis Feng would be in. That's right. Who the fuck's scared of him? Charge inside. Damn. Hall Master Lu, don't hide behind me if you're so strong. Stand in front of me and say that again. Shit, fine, I will. I'll go all out for the president. Chapter 1937. Just came here to get some sleep. The higher-ups of the Fearless Alliance were divided into a pro-battle and a pro-peace faction, but the pro-battle faction was currently in the majority. After all, their president was abducted, so if they took that lying down, then the Fearless Alliance wouldn't need to keep its pride in the independent state. Hence, this battle was unavoidable. How dare a bunch of upstarts like you come to Azura and act so atrociously? Since that woman had the guts to trespass on Azura's territory, then she should be prepared to pay the price. Jiang Yan was already at the end of his patience toward the Fearless Alliance, so his fury finally exploded. That woman wasn't in Azura to begin with. He tried to use peaceful means before resorting to violence and explained it to them, but these people didn't believe it no matter what and doggedly clung to their beliefs that Azura was holding Bai Feng hostage, pestering Azura endlessly. They were probably here with the intention of causing trouble. Shit, what did this damn punk say? He actually called us upstarts. Blah, then what do you call the people who pissed their pants in terror when they were attacked by this group of upstarts, huh? Bastards? I don't think a winner was decided back then. Plus, our Fearless Alliance was just the vanguard, not the main force. Damn, which side are you on? Why are you telling the blunt truth? Anyway, didn't Azura disappear off the grid? They must have been scared from the attack. Because of Jiang Yan's attitude, the remaining pro-peace faction become turncoats. Enough bullshit. Charge. Emotions ran high and the people from the two sides started to lose control. At that moment, when the fight was a second from breaking out, a slender black figure languidly walked out from Azura's inner court, her sandals flapping on the ground. What's happening? Why are you so noisy in the middle of the night? When a female voice rang out from the darkness on Azura's side, everyone froze in their spots like a pause button was pressed. After half a day, people gradually shook off their shock. The members of Azura stiffly turned their necks to look behind them. Shit, what did we just hear? Why does it sound like we heard Bai Feng's voice coming from behind us? That's Bro Flat Top? It's really Bro Flat Top. Why is she at our base? At the same time, the members of the Fearless Alliance also looked ahead in disbelief. Damn, President. Sis Feng? Am I seeing things? Are you okay, Sis Feng? Why did Bai Feng come from Azura's rear courtyard? And why did she walk out of there swaggeringly like she was traipsing through her own garden? It was as though she had just taken a short walk through Azura. When the crowd saw this scene, the people from the Fearless Alliance weren't the only ones dumbfounded. Azura's guards were as well. The righteously indignant crowd screaming for murder just a moment ago now subconsciously retreated to the side with obvious trepidation from fright. Yi Wanwan leisurely walked in between the two rivers of Azura guards and lazily yawned before complaining, "Tiskate, what a disturbance to my sweet dreams." Disturbance to her sweet dreams? Big Dipper was incredibly excited by the sight of Yi Wanwan. Sis Feng, weren't you abducted by the despicable Azura and cruelly interrogated, so your life was hanging on by a thread? Hanging on by a thread, your ass? Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes at him. Also, where do you get the gall to call them despicable? Sis Feng, what the heck is going on? We received an anonymous letter that said you fell into Azura's hands. Yi Wanwan pursed her lips and said, "This place has nice feng shui, so I just came here to get some sleep. Don't be so worried." Chapter 1938. Anyway, I have a strong supporter. The members of the Fearless Alliance who came self-righteous chests were flabbergasted. Before anyone from the Fearless Alliance could speak, Jiang Yan's rage hit the ceiling. What? Vixen, you're simply unscrupulous and impudent. Yi Wanwan raised her eyebrows, exasperated. This guy's vocabulary was pitifully small indeed, his lines never changed. Yi Wanwan was addicted to angering Jiang Yen, so she provokingly said, "That's right, that's right. I didn't just come here for some sleep, I want to sleep with your Lord Azura. What about it?" Unfortunately, her darling told her she couldn't let people know they were villains colluding together, so she had to hold back and refrain from saying it. Jiang Yen, Big Dipper, 7-star, all the elders, hall masters, and elites, the entire area went abnormally silent for a long time. It was finally broken by a certain hall master, Luo Linna. "So we furiously came running here to save the day only to find out our president came here to randomly find a place to sleep? So we furiously came running here to save the day only to find out Sis Feng came here to secretly bang someone?" Everyone, Jiang Yen was truly about to go mad from his rage this time. "Vixen, you're audacious." Unsurprisingly, it was the same line. "I absolutely won't allow you to leave today." Jiang Yen shrugged off 7-star and charged toward Yi Wanwan as fast as lightning. Yi Wanwan stood in her spot unmoving, a faint smile on her face with not even the tiniest frown. "Yes, I have a strong supporter anyway." As expected, the second before Jiang Yan's thunderous strike landed on Yi Wanwan, a slender hand appeared soundlessly and neutralized his attack. When Jiang Yan saw the newcomer, his eyes shot open. My lord," a terrified expression surfaced on every Azura member's face, and they reverently bowed at Lord Azura immediately. "My lord." Lord Azura kept his hand blocking Jiang Yen as he ordered, "Retreat, Jiang Yen." Jiang Yen was bewildered. "But, my lord," Yi Wanwan securely hid behind a certain someone and peeked out with a grin. She aggravatingly taunted, "Hee, come here, hit me." Jiang Yen was so mad he nearly spat out blood. "Vixen." An imperceptible exasperation and gentleness flickered through Si Yihan's eyes. He sent her a warning glance from the corners of his eyes, reminding her not to overdo it. "President Bai." Yi Wanwan pouted and finally stopped provoking Jiang Yen. Fine. On your lord's behalf, I'll let you off alive." "Jiang Yen, I might become the first guard to die from rage in Azura? Wow, so handsome. Isn't Lord Azura too handsome? He's even more handsome than when we last saw him. If I could charm a man like this, I'd die without regrets in this life." Luo Linna, the hegemon flower hall master of the Fearless Alliance, murmured at this moment as she stared at Lord Azura, starry-eyed and unable to look away. Yi Wanwan sharply caught her words from the crowd and narrowed her eyes, her gaze shooting toward Luo Linna like flamethrowers. "Hey, rein yourself in. Have you forgotten the lesson at the club last time?" A hall master quietly reminded her with his head lowered. Luo Linna caught her president's warning glance and shuddered. Memories rushed into her mind, and she didn't dare to take another glance. Si Yihan naturally detected his girl's series of actions, and the gentleness in his eyes was about to overflow. Lin Ke, who had followed behind them, clapped Jiang Yen on the shoulder with a sigh. "Ah, little red, relax. Today's events were just a misunderstanding." Jiang Yen took a deep breath. "Misunderstanding? Bai Feng treats Azura like her own back garden and enters and leaves as she pleases. Moreover, the Fearless Alliance came marching to our doorstep with their weapons drawn, yet you're calling this a misunderstanding. Hall Master Lin, if this continues, how would that affect Azura's reputation in the independent state? Please give your order, my lord." Lin Ke expressed his deepest sympathy for Jiang Yen. "Why, with your lord's protective personality, how could he harm her? How about this? Let's have a fair match. If you win the fight, I'll stay in Azura and allow you to punish me however you want, but if I win..." Yi Wanwan paused briefly before continuing, "If I win, then let your lord leave with me. This way, she'd the one benefiting no matter what." 7-star felt his head pounding fiercely as he watched his president acting suicidal again. He hastily walked over her and sent her a cautionary look. "Sis Feng." Yi Wanwan was currently very depressed from having precious time with her gorgeous man interrupted, so she couldn't help but stir up some trouble. What? My idea was super good and fair." When Yi Wanwan's words turned more offensive, 7-star was beside himself with anxiety. Sis Fong enough. The president was seriously too hard to look after this time. Si Yihan imperceptibly sighed as he watched his girl having an awful amount of fun causing trouble. He had no choice but to use an emphatic tone as he said, "Stop where you should stop." However, perhaps because he was in such a good mood since the person he longed for was right before his eyes, his admonishing warning didn't carry a hint of threat. Even Seven Star astutely detected that Lord Azura's tone when he spoke to their president was a bit too gentle. What rendered him more speechless was that their suicidal president, who ignored all advice, did a sudden 180 in her attitude. She acted so well behaved that it was like she was possessed. I was wrong. I was just joking." Yi Wanwan obediently apologized and sincerely turned to Jiang Yen. "Great bodyguard Jiang, today was truly a misunderstanding. Please forgive me for any offense I committed." A misunderstanding? Such a giant commotion, and they were supposed to let it slide with a mere, "It's a misunderstanding"? However, Jiang Yen himself knew that a war between the Fearless Alliance and Azura right now would have no advantage whatsoever. This had to also be why his lord kept his temper with the Fearless Alliance again and again. As soon as Jiang Yen thought of his lord's well-thought-out long-term strategy and his lord's tolerance and restraint, Jiang Yen was overcome with shame regarding his own impulsiveness. In the end, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and stand back. "Well then, my esteemed Lord Azura, see you later." Yi Wanwan left with a wave of her hand. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh Light Novel. Lord Azura, who always ignored Bai Feng disdainfully, actually nodded lightly in response this time and silently stood in his spot as he escorted the girl with his gaze. When Yi Wanwan looked back and saw his figure, which seemingly melted into the night and standing there unmovingly, she inwardly grumbled in complaint. "He keeps telling me to be careful and not to let anyone discover our relationship, but he keeps seducing me. Wow, damn. You're too awesome, President. You managed to retreat without any injuries despite trespassing on Azura's base single-handedly. You even dared to covet Lord Azura. No wonder you're a heroine, President. You're awesome, President. I'll be able to brag about today's events my whole life." Yi Wanwan's face was dark as she listened to her subordinate's mad praise. Was this something worth praising? At least wait until my relationship with Lord Azura actually becomes official and public. Chapter 1940. It wasn't a meeting but a date. A glass of red wine, scarlet as blood, gently swayed. Moonlight rays painted it a mysterious tint. The man holding the glass of wine had a scar running across the corner of his eye, but it didn't make him ugly. Instead, when paired with his inscrutable smile, it added a bewitching quality to his looks. "President, 3 trucks of supplies and that old woman were all abducted. Also, we can't get into contact with Elder Jean at all," the vice president of the Martial Arts Union softly reported to the man sitting on the sofa. "Meow." A big, black cat nimbly leaped onto the sofa and burrowed into the man's arms. The man placed his wine glass aside, an indescribable smile hanging on his face. "So, are you certain it was the Fearless Alliance?" "Based on my investigation, most likely," the vice president replied. "Oh? Most likely?" The man chuckled airily. "I'm certain. The culprit was really the Fearless Alliance, but I was unable to find any solid evidence. However, this was the Fearless Alliance's modus operandi and I've investigated the other suspicious factions. All suspicion could be eliminated, except regarding the Fearless Alliance," the vice president answered truthfully. "Heh." The corners of the man's lips turned up. "I can understand robbing trucks of supplies, but abducting Elder Jean? Now, that's interesting. President, I found out that woman went to Scarlet Flames Academy. You know that the headmaster of Scarlet Flames Academy is extremely proficient in hypnosis? Moreover, that woman hired many high-ranking mercenaries to perform missions for her." "Are you saying she's recovered her memory?" the man asked. "It's uncertain. I just think it's very possible," the vice president responded after a moment of thought. "I hope her memory will recover faster. Otherwise, what would the point be?" The man picked up the wineglass again and took a small sip. "Also, President, Nye Linglong's ambitions are getting too big. Are we really cooperating with her? No, the power behind her? The vice president had a light frown on his face. You mean the direct line? The man was contemplative. President, you should know what the direct line wants to do. They absolutely won't hold back on the independent state. Heh, we're just using each other. The man smirked. A good show is about to begin, no? The next day at Azura's headquarters, Lin Kei sought Si Yihan out early in the morning. He wore a hectic expression as he reported, "Ninth brother, I just got news that Slaughter's Gate and Heavenly Hatred contacted all the major underground organizations of the independent state and summoned a meeting." Si Yihan set down the document in his hands. Summoned a meeting? That's right. I have no idea what the heck those two bosses are doing. Why are they summoning a meeting out of nowhere like this? I heard that they invited the periphery organizations, the underground organizations, basically any organization with a presence in the independent state. Should we go? Lin Kei inquired. Yes. Si Yihan didn't express any hesitation. Azura currently had a cooperative relationship with Slaughter's Gate and Heavenly Hatred, so they naturally had to extend them some courtesy by attending this kind of meeting. One more thing. I heard that they actually specifically invited the Fearless Alliance this time. What are they thinking? Lin Kei was a bit confused since the Fearless Alliance had always been a lone wolf and didn't show courtesy to anyone, regardless of whether they were good or evil. Was it related to the events last night? Lin Kei murmured. Si Yihan didn't seem surprised to learn the Fearless Alliance was invited. He calmly answered, "We'll find out when Wheelie covertly peeked at a certain person." Okay, why did he suddenly feel like Ninth Brother agreed to go not to attend a meeting but to go on a date? Chapter 1941. The Great Devil will take you on a flight. Lin Kei saw through his ninth brother abusing his position but didn't vocally expose it. That's all. If there's nothing else, I'll leave now. Lin Kei was about to leave when Si Yihan suddenly called out, "Hold on. Take this with you." Lin Kei glanced at the black lockbox on Si Yihan's desk. Isn't this the thing we confiscated from the Fearless Alliance members who were attempting to sneak into the 14th district? Si Yihan didn't even look up. Just help Wan escort it to the 14th district. Lin Kei nearly turned unconscious from his rage. Are you for real? You were clearly the one who insisted on confiscating their object, but now that you've made up, you want to help her personally deliver the package? Lin Kei was crushed from being stuffed with another scoopful of dog food. Why didn't they just go ahead and fill him up to the point of bursting and dying directly? Well, if things continue to develop like this, it wouldn't be long before he died from overeating. At the lack of response, Si Yihan looked up. Was there anything else? No. I'll go deliver it right now. And so, Lin Kei accepted his fate and played the role of a delivery man. People called their 13th district hell and claimed not a mosquito could fly through it. Now, things were great. Their great devil would personally take you on a flight. At the Fearless Alliance, inside her office, Yi Wan was petting Vims when Big Dipper hastily dashed inside to provide a report. "Sis Feng, we just got news that the bosses of Slaughter's Gate and Heavenly Hatred secretly summoned a meeting with various leaders, and the Fearless Alliance is on the guest list." Yi Wan was startled. Meeting with various leaders? What the heck? Everyone in the independent state knows that the Fearless Alliance never befriends any organization, so why did those two bosses think of inviting the Fearless Alliance? Yi Wan murmured. Seven Star, who was standing on the side, speculated, "I looked into it and discovered that a lot of factions were invited this time, and the majority of them were enemies with the Martial Arts Union. There are also some neutral factions. They clearly want to make allies with other factions, so it's not strange that the Fearless Alliance was invited." Big Dipper enthusiastically exclaimed, "Damn, Slaughter's Gate. Heavenly Hatred. They're part of the top 3 core factions in prison. Are we going, Sis Feng? We should go and get some experience. It'd be good to have some fun too." Yi Wan considered it for a moment before seriously refuting, "Go? No way. Our Fearless Alliance has always been a lone wolf and never participates in the disputes between the Martial Arts Union and prison." After saying that, Yi Wanwan thought of something. Prison? Isn't Azura also a part of prison's 3 core factions? That's right. Big Dipper answered. Oh, so does that mean Lord Azura will also go? Big Dipper was quick to reply, of course. With a swish, Yi Wanwan pulled the invitation from Big Dipper's hand. Then let's go and have a look. It'd be good to have some fun. 7-star. Big Dipper, Sis Fong, are you sure you're only going to have some fun? A moment later, Yi Wanwan got rid of Big Dipper and 7-star and called First Elder to her office. She had a very important item on her agenda. She happened to have Si Yihan's hair on hand, so it'd be good to have First Elder look into whether Tang Tang was her and Si Yihan's child. First Elder, do you still have the equipment you obtained a while back? Yi Wanwan asked while looking at First Elder. First Elder nodded. I do. He had no idea why the president kept using the DNA testing equipment, but he wouldn't delve into the matter since the president didn't tell him. Chapter 1942. The beauty mistreated me 1,000 times. Great. Yi Wanwan nodded and promptly handed the wooden box holding Si Yihan's hair to First Elder. Test this sample with the sample I gave you last time. Tell me the results once you have them, Yi Wanwan instructed. First Elder nodded and turned to leave. Yi Wanwan felt nervous for some reason this time though. Tang Tang should be her and Si Yihan's little darling, right? The DNA testing required several days, so Yi Wanwan didn't stay in the Fearless Alliance and returned to Scarlet Flame's Academy. After Yi Wanwan arrived at the Academy, she didn't submit the hair immediately. First, she needed to look into who issued this mission and why the mission required Si Yihan's hair. If she handed over Si Yihan's hair without knowing the reason, what if Si Yihan was harmed by this somehow? However, the information regarding the mission poster was almost always kept confidential and considered Scarlet Flame's Academy's classified information. It would be very difficult for her to discover the identity of the mission poster. Only the headmaster of Scarlet Flame's Academy and the higher-ups of the Academy knew, and it was impossible for the students and instructors to find out. In her helplessness, Yi Wanwan had no choice but to visit the residence of her master, Elder Gong, in one last desperate attempt. If Elder Gong was unwilling to look into it for her, then Yi Wanwan could only forget about this mission. She wouldn't submit Si Yihan's hair. I heard you accepted 3 missions in a row, and 2 of them were S rank while the third one was S+ rank? Elder Gong had brewed a pot of tea in the living room. After Yi Wanwan poured a cup for Elder Gong, he suddenly turned to her and asked that question. Yi Wanwan nodded and honestly replied, Yes, Master, how impressive of you then. No one at Scarlet Flame's Academy has ever dared to accept 3 S-rank missions in a row, let alone the fact that one of them was S+ rank, Elder Gong said. Before Yi Wanwan could reply, he continued, You just accepted the missions a few days ago, so why are you back already? What's the progress on those missions? Elder Gong appeared to show great concern for Yi Wanwan's mission progress. Yi Wanwan had a slightly embarrassed expression when she heard that. How should she start? Emperor Ji's ring was bid on by her own man, and the item from her S+ rank escort mission was also stolen by her own man. And the only mission she could finish involved his hair, so she had to consider his safety too. After some careful thought about this, seriously, Si Yihan mistreated her 1,000 times, but she still treated him like her first love. Wasn't this situation twisted? Actually, I came here today because I had a matter to request of you, Master, Yi Wanwan began guiltily. After all, she was inquiring after information regarding the mission poster of an S-rank mission, something that was extremely classified regardless of which mercenary academy they were in. If the mission poster's information could be easily uncovered, who would dare to come to the 3 great mercenary academies and issue a mission again? What if the mission was to assassinate some major figure? If a small investigation could uncover information about the mission poster, that would be disastrous. Hence, in the independent state, whether it was the 3 great mercenary academies or some smaller mercenary academes, they considered protecting the mission poster's identity their top principle. As a result, Yi Wanwan really found it awkward to request such a thing from Elder Gong out of principle. Chapter 1943 Purely Curious, What is it? Elder Gong asked with a light chuckle after drinking a sip of tea. Yi Wanwan turned it over in her mind for almost a minute before gritting her teeth and brazenly asking, "It's nothing really, Master, I was just purely curious. I accepted an S-rank mission and it involved obtaining Lord Azura's hair. Say, Master, who's so bored that they'd want someone's hair and set this mission as an S-rank mission?" Elder Gong glanced at Yi Wanwan and seriously answered, "If it was a normal person's hair, it wouldn't be qualified to be a D-rank mission, let alone an S-rank mission. However, is Lord Azura someone easily trifled with? The mere act of obtaining a strand of his hair might lead to your clan's destruction in a worst-case scenario. Master, do you know who issued this mission? Can you look into it?" Yi Wanwan asked. "Why are you asking this?" Elder Gong furrowed his brows immediately. "I'm curious. I'm purely curious." Yi Wanwan promptly responded. "Curious? Are you trying to deceive me like I'm a 3-year-old? Elder Gong's expression darkened instantly. Wasn't this excuse too clumsy? Yi Wanwan thought for a moment, her eyes rolling before she looked at Elder Gong with a pout. She crafted a tale that was half true and half false. "Actually, Master, I've obtained Lord Azura's hair already, but I don't know who issued this mission and why they want Lord Azura's hair. Think about it, Master. What if the mission poster had ill intentions and will harm Lord Azura after obtaining his hair? At that time, the entire Azura would hunt me down like crazy, so I don't dare to submit this mission." "What? You obtained Lord Azura's hair?" Elder Gong was surprised. "She finished an S-rank mission in a few days?" "Yes, that's right." Yi Wanwan bobbed her head. "But I'm too afraid to submit the mission. Master, you also know how it's all demons and devils in Azura. I'm scared." Elder Gong shook his head and sighed softly. Elder Gong was silent for a while before finally answering. "In truth, you don't need to be afraid. It was your senior sister Worryless who issued this mission back then." Yi Wanwan was flabbergasted and incredulous when she heard that. "Who issued it?" "Worryless Nya." In other words, it was the pre-amnesia me who issued the S-rank mission of obtaining Lord Azura's hair? Isn't this too melodramatic? Why did I want Lord Azura's hair? Your senior sister Wordless fell in love with a man when she was still in the independent state and had a child with him, but your senior sister Wordless didn't know that man's true identity. That man claimed to be a minor leader in Azura, but your senior sister Worryless suspected that man's true identity to be Lord Azura of Azura." Elder Gong slowly reiterated the story. "Yi Wanwan, why didn't senior sister Worryless ask him herself outright?" Yi Wanwan hastily asked. "Your senior sister Worryless had an extremely headstrong personality. After she discovered she was pregnant, she never sought out that man again and broke all ties with him. With your senior sister Worryless one personality, why would she be willing to contact a man who was unwilling to even reveal his own identity, let alone ask him directly?" Elder Gong said. "Yi Wanwan, if that was the case, Si Yihan also didn't seem to know she was Worryless Nya, so didn't that mean she also concealed her own identity?" Chapter 1944 specializes in robbing his wife's things. Moreover, your senior sister Worryless was deeply in love with Emperor Ji back then, so perhaps she was afraid of Emperor Ji discovering too. Elder Gong shook his head. Yi Wanwan didn't agree with how Worryless Nya was afraid of Emperor Ji finding out. There was even a child involved, so how could she conceal this matter from Emperor Ji? Anyway, with Worryless Nya's extremely apathetic and headstrong personality, there was no way she'd seek Lord Azura out to interrogate him. It didn't take much for her to figure out Worryless Nya's reaction. Did you want Worryless Nya to find a man who didn't even tell her his true identity to aggrievedly tell him she was pregnant, then ask him about his true identity and make him take responsibility? Stop fooling around. Even the current Yi Wanwan couldn't do such a thing, let alone Worryless Nya back then. Unfortunately, your senior sister Worryless went missing after giving birth to the child. Elder Gong's expression was rather lonely. "Master, isn't Worryless Nya with the Nya residence right now?" Yi Wanwan asked. "The Nya residence?" Elder Gong shook his head. I haven't visited the Nye residence, and the worryless Nye at the Nye residence has never come to Scarlet Flames Academy to pay me a visit. Also, Emperor G told me some time ago that the worryless Nye at the Nye residence might not be the genuine one. What? Weren't you recommended by Emperor G? Didn't he tell you about it? Forget it, you know now, but don't tell anyone to avoid making trouble for Emperor G. After all, no one has any proof about this matter. I understand, Master. Yi Wanwan nodded. In other words, Ji Shiran knew long ago that the current worryless Nye was fake, and knew she was the real worryless Nye. Just what trick did Ji Shiran have up his sleeve? Go and submit the mission. Good luck on the other 2 missions too. Truthfully, you just need to finish another S+ rank mission, and you'll have broken another one of Nye Linglong's records. Yi Wanwan truly wasn't that interested in Nye Linglong's record. There was nothing more important than obtaining mercenary honor points right now. Moreover, regarding those 2 missions, forget about Emperor Ji's ring. With Si Yihan's personality as the Vinegar King of Asia, it was absolutely impossible for him to give her Emperor Ji's ring. As for that lockbox, it was also stolen. Just what kind of sin did she commit? Why did she have such an unreliable man who specialized in stealing his wife's things? Soon, Yi Wanwan left Elder Gong's residence and arrived at the mission submission area. Yi Wanwan was fairly confident regarding Lord Azura's hair. Excluding extenuating circumstances, Si Yihan was the wild man who concealed his identity from her back then and the man who sired Tang Tang. Of course, all of this still needed verification from the DNA test results. When Yi Wanwan arrived at the mission submission area, a Scarlet Flames instructor turned to her and asked with a faint smile, "Have you brought Emperor Ji's ring here, Yi Wanwan?" Yi Wanwan, why did you have to ask about Emperor Ji's ring? Why couldn't you ask about Lord Azura's hair? Many nearby mercenaries crowded around Yi Wanwan upon seeing her. Yi Wanwan accepted 2 S-rank missions and 1 S+ rank mission not too long ago, and she was here submitting a mission already? Damn, did Yi Wanwan really finish all her missions? Are you kidding me? I don't believe it. Yi Wanwan grumpily looked at the instructor and brusquely snapped, "I don't." All the mercenaries nearby revealed an, as I expected, expression upon hearing that. Chapter 1945 finished the mission that was true. Who was Emperor Ji? How could his ring be so easily obtained? What absurd joke was that? Moreover, people said Emperor Ji already donated his ring for the charity auction that the Shen family held not too long ago. So it was easy to get Emperor Ji's ring. Just bury them in money. As long as you were wealthy and had enough money, then this mission would be way too easy. However, on that note, who would be moronic enough to be so extravagant without caring about the consequences for a mere mission aside from eldest young Master Shin? No one would doubt anything if it was eldest young Master Shin who finished this mission. The Scarlet Flames instructor smiled helplessly. The 3 missions Yi Wanwan accepted were impossible to finish, so this was within his expectations. Then what about the S+ rank escort mission? The instructor asked again. Yi Wanwan glanced at the instructor, at a loss for words. Yes, she came back, but did she need to have finished all 3 missions just because she accepted 3 missions? Who decided that? Couldn't she have just finished one? I haven't, Yi Wanwan answered. Many high-ranked mercenary students nearby met each other's eyes with a smile when they heard that. Lately, Yi Wanwan's limelight had been in full swing at Scarlet Flames Academy, but in the end, her strength was that of an S-rank mercenary at most. Emperor Ji's ring mission could be ignored since Emperor Ji donated his ring for an auction, so you could obtain it if you were rich enough. This had nothing to do with a person's own strength anymore. You had to compete with the wealthy to obtain Emperor Ji's ring. As for Lord Azura's hair, Lord Azura didn't contribute his hair for the auction, so it might not be possible to buy it if you wanted to obtain it with money. Although a strand of hair was insignificant, running to Lord Azura to steal or ask for a strand of hair from him was an absolute joke. Last but not least, the S+ rank mission. The supply route directly cut through Azura's territory, so it was a lunatic's ravings to be able to escort it to its destination safely. Forget about Yi Wanwan, but even the top-notch S-rank mercenaries wouldn't be able to accomplish it. At that moment, the instructor looked at Yi Wanwan and inquired with confusion, "You didn't finish anything. So what mission are you here to submit?" Yi Wanwan glanced at him and retorted, "Who said I didn't finish a single mission?" The instructor and students were all startled. Yi Wanwan accepted a total of 3 missions. She didn't finish the S+ rank escort mission and Emperor Ji's ring mission, so only Lord Azura's hair mission remained. Could it be that Yi Wanwan obtained Lord Azura's hair? How was that possible? She's lying, right? All hair looks the same, so is it Lord Azura's hair just because she says it's Lord Azura's hair? No way, this chapter is scrapped from Riyadh Light Novel. There's clearly a mistake with this mission. Who can prove it's Lord Azura's hair? However, in the midst of everyone's fervent discussion, a high-ranking Scarlet Flames instructor strode out from the crowd. "You're Yi Wanwan?" The high-ranked instructor looked surprised when he saw Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan briefly surveyed the man first before nodding in admission. "That's me." "Heh, I really couldn't tell." "No wonder you're Elder Gong's disciple," the high-ranked instructor remarked as he looked at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan was rather confused. What did this high-ranked instructor mean? "Some days ago, you accepted 3 missions, 2 S rank and 1 S+ rank. I just heard back from the employer who issued the S+ rank escort mission, and they said they received the item," the instructor continued. Chapter 1946, Is Yi Wanwan a demon? The goods arrived? Yi Wanwan was dumbfounded. What's going on? Didn't that bastard, Si Yihan, confiscate the goods? Could it be? Si Yihan had the goods he robbed himself delivered to the destination according to the original route. A few breaths later, Yi Wanwan was certain that that was what happened. It appeared Si Yihan's desire to live was very strong still. She originally planned to find him to make him pay for it later. "Heh, I'm really curious how you managed to transport the goods through Azura's territory without attracting any notice," the high-ranked instructor mused. "Yi Wanwan, it's Azura's members who personally escorted it, so of course it reached its destination." Of course, Yi Wanwan might be thinking that, but she didn't reveal a thing and merely smiled awkwardly. Damn, she finished the S+ rank escort mission? The Scarlet Flame students were astonished and incredulous when they heard this. Just what was this Yi Wanwan's background? How did she manage to finish this kind of mission? What was more frightening was that she finished it in such a short amount of time. If this was another high-ranking mercenary academy, it wouldn't be realistic at all. Yi Wanwan, you're rather impressive. While you were escorting the S+ rank item, you even stopped by Azura's headquarters and snuck inside to pluck a strand of hair from Lord Azura. The high-ranked instructor's eyes brimmed with admiration as he looked at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan, plucked a strand of hair from Lord Azura? Wasn't it Si Yihan who plucked it himself? But wait, how does this person know? There's news outside that says Lord Azura is thunderous. Someone close to Lord Azura said that someone snuck into Azura's headquarters during the night and announced they were going to challenge Lord Azura. However, before they could start fighting, they took advantage of Lord Azura's inattention and plucked several strands of hair from Lord Azura before swiftly leaving. That must have been you, right? The high-ranked instructor continued. Yi Wanwan, that's right, it was me. I'm the one who did all that. I originally wanted to finish my missions in a low-profile manner, but I didn't expect. Yi Wanwan sighed helplessly. I didn't expect my man to not permit that. He insists on me keeping such a high profile, so what can I do? The nearby students were all stupefied. If they hadn't heard it from this high-ranking Scarlet Flames instructor, they absolutely wouldn't believe that in a mere few days, Yi Wanwan first finished the S+ rank escort mission by transporting the goods across Azura's territory, then she brazenly challenged Lord Azura on her return trip and plucked Lord Azura's hair when he was caught off guard before fleeing. Is this woman still human? She's a demon, right? Just how gutsy does she have to be to dare to challenge Lord Azura? Although the challenge was fake and plucking the hair was the truth, Yi Wanwan still managed to escape from Azura's headquarters completely unharmed. If this was another high-ranking mercenary, forget about escaping intact after plucking Lord Azura's hair. but they probably wouldn't even have the courage to go to Azura's headquarters and challenge Lord Azura. How impressive, Yi-Wan-Wan. In a few days, you not only finished one S rank and one S plus rank mission, but they were also related to Azura and you directly faced Lord Azura himself. This level of difficulty can't be described as the mere S rank. Chapter 1947 accidentally broke a record again, as expected of Elder Gong's disciple. A hero comes from a young man. The high-ranking instructor gave Yi-Wan-Wan a thumbs up. Yi-Wan-Wan's mouth twitched. She wanted to say something but stifled it. This high-ranking instructor might have misunderstood what a young man was. She was a freaking young woman. A young woman, not a young man. Of course, the current atrocious makeup on Yi-Wan-Wan's face didn't allow her to fight over the question of her gender. Damn awesome. How did you do it, junior sister Yi? A bunch of high-ranking mercenaries instantly surrounded her with curious expressions. Even some Scarlet Flames instructors and this high-ranking instructor were immensely curious about how in the world Yi-Wan-Wan finished these seemingly impossible missions. Yi-Wan-Wan ran her eyes over everyone. How else could she have finished them? The boss of the mission helped her finish them. Otherwise, how could she have finished them? Yi-Wan-Wan, you've broken 2 records at Scarlet Flames Academy. The high-ranking instructor quickly regained his solemn expression. Yi-Wan-Wan became spirited immediately. It was unimportant whether she broke any records or not. What was important was whether she was awarded any honor points or not. That was Yi-Wan-Wan's only concern. The first record was that you finished an S+ rank and an S rank mission faster than any other student in Scarlet Flames Academy's history. The instructor paused briefly before continuing. The second record was that you were the only student in Scarlet Flames Academy's history to have accepted an S rank and an S+ rank mission at the same time, and you also finished them the fastest. Is there a reward? Yi-Wan-Wan hastily asked. The high-ranking instructor was startled, seemingly confused. He asked with a frown, "There's definitely a reward, but isn't the honor of breaking 2 records simultaneously more important than the reward?" Yi-Wan-Wan automatically shook her head without thinking. "Just tell me how many honor points I get." "Each one gives 10,000, so together, you get 20,000, the high-ranking instructor answered. A giant grin broke across Yi-Wan-Wan's face. She wanted nothing more than to bulldoze her way to Azura's headquarters this very second and throw her arms around her man before kissing him. 20,000 honor points. Combined with an S+ rank and an S rank mission, she would soon be able to ask the headmaster for another hypnosis session. Within half a day, news of Yi-Wan-Wan breaking 2 records at Scarlet Flames Academy blazed through the academy. Many higher-ups and elders of the academy visited Elder Gong's residence to congratulate him. Many of these higher-ups from Scarlet Flames Academy weren't affected by power anymore. Instead, these higher-ups coveted strength and honor in their disciples. Elder Gong even threw several lavish banquets at his residence and dragged Yi-Wan-Wan with her to entertain the guests for a few days. Yi-Wan-Wan originally didn't want to waste any time, but she saw Elder Gong's enthusiasm and couldn't bear to reject him, so she could only accompany him in this madness for a few days. When the Scarlet Flames headmaster learned that Yi-Wan-Wan obtained a lot of honor points, he obscurely sent a few hints Yi-Wan-Wan's way, but they were all intentionally fended off by Yi-Wan-Wan in good humor. Who would pay back a debt they just owed? A few days later, Yi-Wan-Wan accepted a few more missions and quickly left Scarlet Flames Academy. At the Fearless Alliance, Yi-Wan-Wan sat down on her office chair and told 7-Star to inform First Elder that she was back. Chapter 1948 DNA testing result. It wasn't until half an hour later that First Elder finally rushed over with a report in hand. For some reason, Yi-Wan-Wan started getting nervous when she saw the report in First Elder's hand. Although Yi-Wan-Wan was pretty certain that Tang Tang was her and Si Yihin's child. What if? President, the test results have come out, First Elder decisively said upon a lack of words from Yi-Wan-Wan. Wait, are the results good or bad? Yi-Wan-Wan asked him with a frown. First Elder was startled. Are the results good or bad? How would I know? I don't even know the identity of the people being DNA tested. President, I don't really know whether it's good or bad, First Elder answered with a smile. Then tell me the results, Yi Wanwan ordered resolutely after a moment of thought. First Elder nodded. After the DNA test, the cells from the two samples indicated a 99% blood relationship. Yi Wanwan was originally prepared for the worst already, but all of her negative emotions dissipated after First Elder said that, leaving only joyful surprise behind. In other words, the DNA test results showed that Si Yihan was darling Tong Tong's biological father. However, inexplicable fury rushed out of her a second later. Did Si Yihan's brain spasm? Is he dim-witted? I had a child with him, and he doesn't even know. Even if she was hiding from Si Yihan after she got pregnant and didn't let him know, it was still his fault for not knowing. After carefully considering it, Tang Tang and Si Yihan were clearly carved from the same model, alright? His nose, his eyes, his mouth, and even his personality. Tang Tang was basically a mini Si Yihan. Not good, not good, not good. Yi Wanwan was brimming with worry. Baby Tang Tang was so similar to his father, especially in personality. How would that do when he grew up? Whether he could find a wife or not was one thing, but even if he found one, he'd probably anger his wife to death. Hence, she had to start nurturing Tong Tong's nearly non-existent ability at charming women from a young age. She absolutely couldn't allow him to tread down Si Yihan's old path. President, are you all right? First Elder couldn't help asking when he saw dozens of expressions flying through Yi Wanwan's face in a short amount of time. I'm fine. Thanks for your hard work, First Elder. You can go back to your work now, Yi Wanwan responded. Alright, you can call me or have someone find me if you need anything else, President. Then First Elder turned to leave. Yi Wanwan couldn't tolerate the fact that her precious son was hijacked by a counterfeit. She'd been holding back for so long, so it was about time to take action. Whether she could recover Worryless Nye's identity or not was secondary. The top priority was to at least expose that counterfeit. Yi Wanwan originally wanted to discuss it with someone, but she realized this was the Fearless Alliance. It wouldn't be a problem if you wanted them to commit arson, burglary, or murder, but if you wanted them to plan and scheme with you, forget it. Yi Wanwan picked up her phone from her office chair, wanting to call Si Yihan. However, after a second thought, she put down the phone again. The Fearless Alliance was under the Martial Arts Union's surveillance right now, so perhaps there was someone eavesdropping on them. Moreover, now wasn't a suitable time to inform Si Yihan. Chapter 1949 relied on my beauty. Yi Wanwan's emotions were actually rather complicated after learning the results of the DNA test. She still remembered how she offhandedly said it was probably only her and Si Yihan's genes in this world that could produce a child as adorable as Tang Tang. She didn't expect her words to become a prophecy. Unfortunately, she could only feel excited by herself secretly. On one hand, this truly wasn't a suitable opportunity to tell Si Yihan. On the other hand, she despairingly realized that telling Si Yihan that Tang Tang was their child was basically the same as telling him she was Worryless Nye. If she told him she was Worryless Nye, then her and Emperor Ji's relationship? Before spilling the beans, she had to plan how to pacify him first. Not long after First Elder left, Big Dipper fierily stormed inside. Sis Fong, you're seriously too awesome. Just how did you do it? I heard you actually finished an S rank and S+ rank mission at the same time. Such unnecessary fuss. Yi Wanwan was fairly calm. Big Dipper excitedly exclaimed, how's that unnecessary fuss? We're talking about Lord Azura's hair. Was that why you snuck into Azura last time? The hair makes sense to me since you could obtain it with a little shamelessness. However, what's the story with the goods? Even our Fearless Alliance couldn't smuggle them, so no one else in the independent state is capable of accomplishing it. Just who did you hire, Sis Fong? Big Dipper pressed, incredibly curious. Yi Wanwan, what do you mean with a little shamelessness? I took it openly and honorably. 7-Star, who entered with Big Dipper, also had a puzzled expression on his face. He speculated for a long time but couldn't figure out who Sis Fong hired to help her. When Yi Wanwan thought about what a certain person did behind her back, a sweet smile involuntarily spread across her face. I hired a Jura to escort it for me. Big Dipper. 7-star. Big Dipper was dumbstruck. Are you kidding me, Sis Fong? First of all, there's no way a Jura would accept this kind of mission. Second of all, how in the world could you afford to hire a Jura? Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes at him and propped her chin up. How? I relied on my beauty. What? I can't? Big Dipper grumbled. If you're talking about seducing someone with your looks, I feel like it's Lord Azura who'd be the one losing out, with his beauty. He absolutely wouldn't take that deal. Does this guy know how to speak? Tisk, forget it if you don't believe it. Nowadays, no one believed the truth. Yi Wanwan was talking to Big Dipper and 7-star when her phone suddenly started ringing. The caller ID showed, owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory. When Yi Wanwan casually picked up her phone and saw this caller ID, her lips turned up and her eyes looked like thousands of peach blossoms were blooming. No way did she expect Si Yihan to call her of his own volition. The number that Si Yihan gave her had to be fairly private and safe, so normal conversations shouldn't be a problem as long as they didn't mention anything too confidential or important. Who's calling, President? Why is your smile so sugary and love-struck? Big Dipper curiously stood on tiptoe to peek at Yi Wanwan's phone. Owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory? Big Dipper was bewildered when he saw the caller ID. Why are you smiling like that about the call of a vinegar factory's owner? Did you want to buy some vinegar, Sis Fong? Yi Wanwan ignored Big Dipper and cheerfully answered the call. Hello, Honey Dash. Chapter 1950, Are You Missing Me? The second Yi Wanwan said, Honey, goosebumps covered Big Dipper and 7-star's bodies. Do you need to be so gentle when you talk to the owner of a vinegar factory? Big Dipper scratched his head in confusion. Yi Wanwan was in an extremely good mood, so she ignored them and asked Si Yihan, Why did you suddenly call me? How are you lately? Anything abnormal? The man's serious but unconcealable gentle voice was emitted from the other end. Nope, everything's fine. All right, I haven't thanked you yet. Thank you for your present. I like it a lot. It's seriously too considerate dash. Yi Wanwan happily thanked him. Si Yihan knew she was talking about the goods he helped her transport. He was originally frustrated with himself for indulging her too much, but his insignificant regret completely disappeared when he heard the girl's elated tone. His inner mindscape clearly resembled a blossoming spring after being lavished in praise, but he merely uttered a reserved N. As for the two people listening to Yi Wanwan on the phone, Big Dipper leaned close to 7-star's ears and whispered, The vinegar factory owner's present? What could a vinegar factory owner give? A tub of vinegar? 7-star also didn't know who this vinegar factory owner was but didn't pay too much heed to it. Until Yi Wanwan propped her chin on her hand and softly and coyly complained, TSK, you ignored me when I forcibly stuffed my number at you back then, but you're actually calling me on your own now? Do you miss me? The conversation was normal initially, but when it reached this point, 7-star's head shot up and Big Dipper's face filled with shock. Sis Fong forcibly stuffed her number onto someone? And she asked him if he missed her? There was something off about this conversation, right? Wait, calm down. Sis Fong talked this inappropriately toward everyone, so they had to be overthinking. I miss you so much I can't sleep well at night. Can I go and sleep at your place? Yi Wanwan asked as she listlessly sprawled on top of her desk. Her voice couldn't be any softer. The truth was, her lousy haunted house was too wretched. So she hadn't had a single good night's sleep since she came to the independent state. In addition, after witnessing Si Yihan's headache last time, she was a bit worried about his situation. She nurtured him back to good health with great difficulty, so wouldn't she be getting the short end of the stick if his health declined to how it was before? The fairly calm Big Dipper and 7-star never expected Sis Fong to turn so racy all of a sudden. They were stupefied. Sleep together tonight? What did we just hear? This can't be a misunderstanding, right? Since when did Sis Fong start playing around with a vinegar factory owner? She's three-timing Emperor G, Lord Azura, and Patriarch C and still has the energy to seduce a vinegar factory owner behind their backs? On the other end of the phone, even if Si Yihan couldn't see her right now, he could imagine her soft and cute expression and the cunningness sparkling in her eyes. He almost couldn't control himself and answered, yes. However, Si Yihan managed to restrain himself. Stop fooling around. Yi Wanwan pouted unhappily. I knew you'd say that. Since Big Dipper and Seven Star were with her, Yi Wanwan couldn't bring up other topics, but she still chatted with him for a while sweetly before reluctantly hanging up. Big Dipper and Seven Star had already transformed into statues in her office. Yi Wanwan looked up. You two haven't left yet? Big Dipper was flabbergasted. Sis Feng, when did you seduce another one? Just who is this owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory? Yi Wanwan peppily retorted, since you have time to gossip with me, why don't you help me do these missions? Chapter 1951 There's Big Trouble. Big Dipper instantly shut his mouth. No, I'm very busy. Very busy. After fleeing, Big Dipper's curiosity felt like an unscratchable itch. Say, Old Seven, who do you think this owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory is? Why haven't I ever heard about a beautiful vinegar factory owner in the Independent State? Maybe the president met him by chance. Seven Star quickly turned calm after a moment of thought. It might not be a bad thing to have someone distract the president's attention. Big Dipper realized the sense in that. As long as Sis Feng didn't provoke some troublesome character, everything was fine. This was probably Sis Feng's momentary infatuation, so she'd probably completely forget about it in a few days. Ever since they captured Elder Jean of the Martial Arts Union, Yi Wanwan discovered many scouts from the Martial Arts Union lingering around the Fearless Alliance's headquarters. She originally planned to do another thorough interrogation on Elder Jean after scrutiny on her decreased, but judging from the current situation, when would that be? Yi Wanwan didn't expect the Martial Arts Union to value Elder Jean so much and refused to give up even now. She didn't realize the Martial Arts Union was so staunch and loyal, they could probably rival the Fearless Alliance in that regard. Yi Wanwan was amazed after witnessing the Martial Arts Union's stubbornness. No wonder the Martial Arts Union could rise above everyone in the Independent State and become the counterbalancing force in the Independent State. If it were any other faction, they would have probably stopped caring about an elder's survival a long time ago. The next day, Yi Wanwan was dozing off in her office when she was suddenly awoken by Big Dipper. Sis Feng. Big Dipper dashed inside the office with Seven Star without knocking. Big Dipper's voluminous voice instantly shocked Yi Wanwan to consciousness. What? Yi Wanwan asked, looking at them. Sis Feng, there's trouble, Seven Star answered. That's right. Sis Feng, there's trouble. There's big trouble. Big Dipper shouted urgently. Can't you talk properly? What big trouble could there be? Did the sky collapse? Yi Wanwan shot Big Dipper an unhappy look. When Yi Wanwan learned that Worryless Nya was by Feng and she was the one who took on the alias and created the entire Fearless Alliance with her own hand back then, she was dumbstruck and couldn't accept it at all. Alright? Why did she recruit so many oddballs into the Fearless Alliance back then? This absolutely wasn't her style. The sky collapsed? Well, this isn't any different from the sky collapsing. Big Dipper answered, gasping for air. Yi Wanwan turned to look at Seven Star instead. At least Seven Star was more reliable. However, Seven Star merely nodded at Yi Wanwan, seeming to agree with Big Dipper's words. Sis Feng, the base we use to hide Elder Jean has been discovered by the Martial Arts Union, Seven Star explained a moment later. Yi Wanwan froze in her spot, flabbergasted. You're saying the Martial Arts Union found our base and caught us red-handed? Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. That's right, Sis Feng. It happened just now. Big Dipper had a miserable expression. Yi Wanwan, how was this the sky freaking collapsing? This was clearly the entire world collapsing. With the Martial Arts Union's reputation and strength in the Independent State, the consequences of the Fearless Alliance being caught red-handed was inconceivable. Yi Wanwan was well aware of how her acts of faking compliance when the martial arts union sought her out last time and asking the Fearless Alliance to be enemies with Azura and wreaking havoc at Azura's headquarters was the same as conning the martial arts union's wealth. However, she still went to Azura's territory and stirred up trouble, so while the martial arts union might have been furious, they couldn't criticize it, so they had to suffer this loss silently. This was different though. The Fearless Alliance stole a lot of supplies from the martial arts union and abducted their elder. Chapter 1952 Simply timely help. Countless plans flashed through Yi Wanwan's mind in an instant, but Yi Wanwan rejected all of them in the end. Yi Wanwan originally wanted to inform Si Yihan, but wouldn't that be the same as dragging Azura down with her? Even if the Fearless Alliance and Azura teamed up, they still wouldn't be a match for the martial arts union. Did anyone from the martial arts union come? Yi Wanwan asked, looking at them with a frown. No. 7-Star shook his head. Yi Wanwan slowly sat back down on the sofa. It didn't require much thought for her to realize the martial arts union had to have gone back to summon their people so they could wipe out the entire Fearless Alliance in one go. Declaring war on the martial arts union was clearly an impractical option. In this pivotal moment, she had to find an excuse that absolved them of the crime of robbing their supplies and kidnapping their elder. Did they take Elder Jean back? Yi Wanwan continued to ask. No, Sis Feng. Elder Jean died. Big Dipper hastily replied. He died. Mad elation instantly surfaced in Yi Wanwan's eyes. It was too freaking great that he died. This death was no different from timely help. As long as Elder Jean died, the dead couldn't be a witness, and who could say that the secret base belonged to the Fearless Alliance? The Fearless Alliance learned that Elder Jean was abducted and worried immensely, so they dispatched a lot of manpower to search for Elder Jin's whereabouts. When they found Elder Jean, they coincidentally ran into the search team from the martial arts union. Couldn't that work? As long as she didn't admit it and adamantly insisted that this had nothing to do with the Fearless Alliance, as the balance and adjudicator of the independent state, the martial arts union wouldn't dare to wage war with the Fearless Alliance without any concrete evidence. He died pretty tragically. Big Dipper mused with a sigh. Who killed Elder Jean? Yi Wanwan was curious. This kind of talent needed to be emphatically trained. You probably wouldn't believe it even if I told you, Sis Feng. I don't know how to say it either. How about I act it out for you? Big Dipper turned to 7-Star and said, right now, I'm the people from the martial arts union and your Elder Jean. We'll act out a playback. 7-Star, Sister Worryless, after the martial arts union found the base, they asked Elder Jean about the situation. Elder Jean said you asked him who wanted to kill Worryless Nya then. Elder Jean said he didn't reveal anything but was killed by the palm of someone from the martial arts union. 7-Star responded truthfully. Yi Wanwan froze in her spot, dumbstruck. What kind of dramatic twist was this? Elder Jean was killed by the people from the martial arts union? The one who killed Elder Jean was a spy from our Fearless Alliance? Yi Wanwan hypothesized, puzzled. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh Light Novel. Yi Wanwan suspected whether it was someone from the Fearless Alliance or perhaps Azura. Sis Feng, it was the vice president of the martial arts union. 7-Star dispersed that guess. Yi Wanwan, it absolutely couldn't be a spy who openly killed Elder Jean like this. And the vice president being a spy was even more improbable. However, why did the martial arts union want to kill Elder Jean? Thousands of question marks floated around Yi Wanwan's mind. This didn't make any sense. How are our people? Yi Wanwan continued to inquire. The hall masters all escaped and are fine, 7-Star answered. Yi Wanwan contemplated for a moment before ordering. Immediately head to martial arts union's vicinity and monitor their every move. As soon as the wind blows, report back to me. Big Dipper and 7-Star turned to leave. Chapter 1953 Meeting with Emperor Yi Wanwan spent the next few days in a state of vigilance. However, nothing abnormal was spotted at the martial arts union's headquarters. They didn't dispatch troops to eradicate the Fearless Alliance as Yi Wanwan expected. It was as though nothing happened. The martial arts union's ordinariness was actually the biggest abnormality to Yi Wanwan. They killed Elder Jean, then ignored the fearless alliance. Normal logic wouldn't play out like that. Yi Wanwan couldn't make sense of the martial arts union's behavior at all. Anyhow, the fact that the martial arts union didn't seek retribution from the fearless alliance was the best result. Yi Wanwan didn't relax completely though. She strengthened the fearless alliance's defenses and left an abundant amount of spies and scouts near the martial arts union. If the martial arts union intended to attack the fearless alliance, they would know at once. That same day, Yi Wanwan had someone help her ask Ji Xiuran to have dinner with her. Yi Wanwan didn't mean anything by meeting with Ji Xiuran. She merely believed that Ji Xiuran definitely knew she was worryless Nya, so she wanted to learn something from Ji Xiuran and at least ask him about it. Yi Wanwan was more prudent about having a meal with Ji Xiuran this time. If Si Yihan found out, it would be difficult to explain. That night, at the luxurious private room of some restaurant, Big Dipper and 7-Star stayed outside the private room, and Ji Xiuran and Yi Wanwan were the only ones in the room. A gentle smile hung on the man's face the whole time, and his unfathomable eyes stared outside the window. A long time passed before he finally turned to Yi Wanwan and asked amiably, "I heard you went to pluck Lord Azura's hair and you also finished the S+ rank mission from Scarlet Flames?" Yi Wanwan, why do I feel like I'm being interrogated? She just knew that Elder Gong would brag about it everywhere and the recipients of his bragging wouldn't exclude Ji Xiuran. It was all luck, Yi Wanwan said. Luck, was it? Ji Xiuran stared at Yi Wanwan. That hair was probably plucked and given to you by Lord Azura himself, right? And that item, it was probably delivered by Lord Azura himself, right? Yi Wanwan felt her head swelling from the inquiry, but Ji Xiuran didn't intend to probe any deeper and asked with a faint smile, "We'll put that aside for now. Let's talk about why you asked to meet with me tonight." They finally veered back on topic. "You actually know the worryless Nye in the Nye family right now is a counterfeit, right?" Yi Wanwan slowly asked, looking at Ji Xiuran intently. "Oh." Ji Xiuran was instantly intrigued and carefully examined Yi Wanwan. "Can you tell me what you know?" Yi Wanwan asked with a frown. Ji Xiuran chuckled softly. "For example? My identity." Yi Wanwan went straight to the point. Ji Xiuran became silent, however. Soon, Ji Xiuran meaningfully asked, "So should I call you Xiao Feng or worryless right now?" "You really do know that I'm worryless, Nye?" Yi Wanwan took a deep breath. A young woman is very different from the little girl she once was. Truthfully, there's a momentous difference between you and the worryless from back then, whether it's in personality, face, or physique. Even I was nearly unable to recognize you. Ji Xiuran stared at Yi Wanwan. "However, since you were meeting with me to ask about this today, it means you haven't recovered your memory yet. Since you knew my identity already, why didn't you say anything sooner?" Yi Wanwan was puzzled by this. "Your memory was masked and replaced. If I told you this directly, would you have believed me? That's just one thing. Secondly, would it be better for me to tell you directly or better for you to remember it yourself?" Ji Xiuran countered. "In other words, you had me go to Scarlet Flames Academy because you knew about the headmaster's talent. You didn't want me to go there to train, you wanted me to recover my memories." Ji Xiuran's lips curled up. "You weren't so smart back then." Although Yi Wanwan was being teased by Ji Xiuran, she didn't mind. If it weren't for Ji Xiuran, she would have had a hard time handling her circumstances after arriving in the independent state. Indeed, thinking back on it, Ji Xiuran had helped her way too much during her time in the independent state. Chapter 1954. Make him pay for it now though. Yi Wanwan didn't know how to face Ji Xiuran. Previously, Yi Wanwan thought she was impersonating the president of the Fearless Alliance and adopted the role of Bai Feng, so she merely needed to pretend to be Ji Xiuran's fiancé as Bai Feng. Only now did Yi Wanwan come to the complete realization that she was worryless Nye, which meant she really did have an engagement with Ji Xiuran. This was the reality, not some fabricated tale. When all was said and done, logically speaking, the man before her was her real boyfriend. She still felt like she was missing a piece of the puzzle after thinking about it carefully. Was she really so wild back then and still got involved with Si Yihan despite having an engagement with Ji Shiran? That didn't match her behavior at all, alright? Do you know what happened back then? Yi Wanwan asked as she looked at Ji Shiran again. Back then? What exactly are you asking? Ji Shiran nonchalantly retorted. Why did I leave the independent state? Yi Wanwan finally uttered after a moment of thought. Shouldn't it be me asking you this question? Why are you the one asking me instead? Ji Shiran replied slowly, looking at her. Before Yi Wanwan could respond, Ji Shiran continued, It appears you truly haven't fully recovered your memory yet. Tell me, why did you leave the independent state? I don't think there's a point in you asking me this question. Who were you living with during your time in China? You should be asking him instead, am I right? Yi Wanwan, only then did Yi Wanwan understand something. In Ji Shiran's mind, it must have been Si Yihan who took her away from the independent state. Well, that was true. It was Si Yihan who took her from the independent state. If I guessed right, it was Lord Azura who took you to China. However, when you returned to the independent state again, you lost your original memories and were living with someone else's memories instead. So who do you think harmed you and what do you think happened back then? Ji Shiran calmly stared at Yi Wanwan without a ripple of emotion. I told you before already, stay far away from Lord Azura. A realization finally dawned on Yi Wanwan. No wonder Ji Shiran felt such hostility towards Xian. There seemed to be some misunderstanding here. Based on Ji Shiran's words, Ji Shiran thought all of this was caused by Si Yihan. Si Yihan harbored evil intentions, so he switched all of her memories and made her live as someone else. Today's the last time I'll tell you this. Stay far away from Lord Azura from now on. As for everything he's done to you, I'll make him pay for it, Ji Shiran said. There is really a misunderstanding. An enormous misunderstanding. That's not it, that's not it. Yi Wanwan frantically shook her head. No. Ji Shiran glanced at her. There might be a misunderstanding, Yi Wanwan hastily replied. Yi Wanwan finally understood that in Ji Shiran's eyes, Si Yihan had taken her to China back then and harmed her. However, after recovering a portion of her memories, she was well aware that Si Yihan didn't harm her. Instead, he rescued her from the hands of the martial arts union. Additionally, it was she who threatened Si Yihan with her life and forced him to mask her memory, so it actually didn't have anything to do with Si Yihan. If Si Yihan got blamed for all of this, he would be too wronged. He'd become the second Dui one in Asia. Do Yi is a fictional character who was convicted wrongly from the play, The Injustice to Do. Chapter 1955 really do have an engagement, of course. If Yi Wanwan didn't explain it, then the misunderstanding between Ji Shiran and Si Yihan would never dissolve. First of all, with Ji Shiran's personality, he would probably never ask Si Yihan about this. Even if Ji Shiran directly questioned Si Yihan absolutely wouldn't provide any explanation given his personality, especially since the asker was Ji Shiran. Since you know now that you're worryless, yeah? Then you should also know that we really do have an engagement, but you still followed Si Yihan to China and forgot everything. So tell me, what misunderstanding could there be? Ji Shiran asked with a light chuckle. Yi Wanwan stared at Ji Shiran, her brows furrowing slightly. If Ji Shiran put it that way, there really wasn't any problem. However, his earlier words proved that Ji Shiran was clueless about what happened back then. If Ji Shiran was in the know, he absolutely wouldn't feel such hostility towards Si Yihan. I did recover a portion of my memories, and that portion includes how the martial arts union hunted me down and Si Yihan rescued me back then. Moreover, it was me who requested Si Yihan to replace my memories, Yi Wanwan finally confessed after some deliberation. It was best to tell Ji Shiran the truth first. Otherwise, what if Emperor Ji's faction declared war on Azura because of this misunderstanding? It would be a disaster. You were hunted by the martial arts union? Surprise surfaced in Ji Shiran's eyes. Aside from being hunted by the martial arts union, it was actually Lord Azura who rescued her, and it was worryless Nya herself who asked for her memory to be replaced. Ji Shiran sank into contemplation. I asked you to come today actually because I wanted to ask whether or not you knew what happened back then and why the martial arts union wanted to hunt me down. Because I only recovered a small portion of my memories, I don't know a lot of details, Yi Wanwan slowly began. Are you certain it was the martial arts union who hunted you? I truly didn't know about that, Ji Shiran replied. I'm certain. Yi Wanwan nodded. Don't rashly provoke the martial arts union. Wait until I investigate this matter, Ji Shiran instructed her with a grim expression a long while later. The martial arts union held a significant position in the independent state and possessed extraordinarily strong power as well. If the mere fearless alliance wanted to fight the martial arts union, it would be the same as an egg attacking a rock, suicidal. And I understand. If Yi Wanwan wanted to seek revenge, she would have acted already. Why would she wait until now? Yi Wanwan wasn't stupid. She was well aware of the martial arts union's mightiness. Forget about this matter for now. It'd be best if you could recover all your memories so that you find out what actually happened back then and why the martial arts union wanted to hunt you down. Do you understand? Ji Shiran said. There's one more thing. After long consideration, Yi Wanwan decided to inform Ji Shiran about the matter regarding Elder Jin. Oh, that's rather interesting. Ji Shiran looked pensive after hearing that Elder Jin died at the hands of the martial arts union. I think there are two possibilities. Ji Shiran lightly tapped the table. First, the martial arts union wanted to seal Elder Jin's mouth permanently and didn't want you to learn about what happened back then from Elder Jin. What's the second one? Yi Wanwan urgently pressed. Chapter 1956. This is after-sales service. The second possibility is, perhaps the martial arts union wanted you to recover your memory on your own and not discover the truth from someone else's mouth. Of course, this is just my conjecture and requires an investigation, Ji Shiran replied. Also, Ji Shiran added, I actually don't believe the martial arts union would hunt you down. Because of your grandfather. My grandpa, Yi Wanwan frowned lightly. At the mention of her grandfather, the elderly man who treated the little girl extremely strictly surfaced in her mind. That's right. Ji Shiran nodded and chuckled lightly. It appears you haven't remembered this yet. Your grandfather was the previous president of the martial arts union. Yi Wanwan was stunned. The previous president of the martial arts union was her grandfather. Your grandfather had an extremely bad relationship with your parents and took you from the Nya family since you were young. Auntie Nya had always felt like she owed Worryless Nya, so this is probably why she dotes on that fake Worryless so much. Then where's my grandfather right now? Yi Wanwan asked inquisitively. If her grandfather was the previous president, why did the martial arts union dare to hunt her down? What right did they have? He went missing many years ago. No one knows his whereabouts, Ji Shiran answered. Yi Wanwan, such a formidable grandfather support actually went missing. Could it be an internal struggle in the martial arts union? Yi Wanwan asked with a frown after some thinking. It's very possible. The current president of the martial arts union is very mysterious. Very few people have seen his true appearance, and his actions are vicious and merciless. However, I don't have any concrete evidence. Ji Shiran shook his head. Some things might have to wait until you completely remember everything. Right now, you don't need to do anything. Don't continue to infuriate the martial arts union. After discussing the martial arts union, Yi Wanwan originally wanted to clear up her engagement with Ji Shiran, but he left before she could. When Yi Wanwan left the restaurant, she had Big Dipper and Seven Star return to the Fearless Alliance first while she herself drove back to her mansion. Her mansion was a bit creepy, so Yi Wanwan rarely stayed there. The majority of the time, she lived at the Fearless Alliance. She was returning to the mansion tonight to carefully examine whether she left any clues in the mansion all those years ago. However, after turning the mansion upside down, she still didn't find anything valuable. When Yi Wanwan walked out of the mansion and stopped next to her car, her brows knitted. From the car's side mirror, Yi Wanwan clearly caught sight of the man who appeared in China and tried to steal her ring. Yi Wanwan pretended to be clueless, but she didn't get into the car and walked straight toward Yi Shuihan's house instead. When she felt someone approaching, she immediately dug out a key and opened the door to Yi Shuihan's house. As soon as she entered the room, The icy gaze of a man wearing cartoon pajamas landed on Yi Wanwan. Nice door. Yi Wanwan greeted him with a smile when she detected Yi Shuihan's inhospitable gaze. Why do you have the key to my house? Yi Shuihan stared at Yi Wanwan, his somewhat husky voice appearing more attractive. Yi Wanwan finally mustered a response. Knight errant Yi, this is after-sales service? I sold the door to you, so of course I have to have the key. If you happen to lose your key one day, I still have a spare one here, right? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.